Quick, graph y equals the square root of the opposite of x by hand 2 different ways. Decide if the square root function is even, odd, or neither. You will need graph paper or download this PDF and print it. Press pause as needed anytime during this video. The first way is with what we call the radical dance. Normally we would start at the origin, and since the opposite of 0 is 0 and the square root of 0 is 0, we will still begin at the origin. Because of the opposite sign in front of x, we need to take the opposite of x before the square root. And since we cannot take the square root of negative numbers, we need to use negative values for x. For example, when x is -1, the opposite of -1 is +1, and its square root is 1. So left 1, up 1. Left 4, up 2. The square root of the opposite of -4 is the square root of 4, which is 2. So when x is -4, y is +2. Similarly, left 9, up 3. The square root of the opposite of -9 is the square root of +9, which is 3. Connect the points. And comparing it to the parent function, you can see that the function is not equal to its opposite. So this is not an even function. We can now compare to the graph of the opposite of f of x, and that's in brown here. And you can see that the green graph is not equal to the brown graph. And so that means this is not an odd function either. So the square root is neither even nor odd. Second way, using a table, we're going to use these values that we normally use for the square root function. Since we need to take the square root of the opposite of the x value, we are going to need negative values for x and 0. So we're going to use the opposites of those x values because we have to take the opposite of them. The opposite of 0 is 0. The square root of 0 is 0, so the origin is on the graph. The opposite of -1 is +1, and its square root is 1, so -1, +1. Square root of -4, square root of the opposite of -4 is the square root of 4, which is 2, -4, 2. And then similarly for the square root of the opposite of -9. Connecting the points and comparing that to the parent function and to y equals the opposite of the square root of x, you can see that this function is neither even nor odd.